One of the most hot topic discussion points in the Sea of Thieves community as of the last couple of months has been this notion whether or not the game is quote-unquote dying. Gauging player numbers in a cross-platform game in Sea of Thieves is quite tricky because there is no single source of truth that we can use to gauge whether or not players are actively participating in the game on a day-to-day or even a month-to-month basis. I will say, unfortunately, Rare and Microsoft are very reserved in sharing these numbers publicly. However, there is some tools that we can use to at least gauge a minimum number of players for our beloved pirate game. Now, this video stems from the fact that there are a couple of bad faith actors on the Sea of Thieves social media groups that love to say that the game is dying due to various PvP balance decisions. Now, I'm not here to defend Rare in some of the choices that they've made and their lack of fixing things such as hit registration and server stability. But for people to go and say that the game is dying or is completely dead due to a lack of players is completely inaccurate. And I'm essentially making this video to demonstrate that there are ways to see how many number of players are participating in the game on a month-to-month basis. So first, let's address the elephant in the room in the fact that some people love to use SteamDB as a way to gauge the game number or number of players for the game's active player count. Now, if we go to SteamDB and open it and then search for Sea of Thieves and then go to charts, we do get an accurate count for the number of players that are playing Sea of Thieves on Steam. And what a lot of these people, let's put it that way, love to quote is they'll do something like take a screenshot of this graph over here and then they'll say, oh look, there's a sharp decline in player numbers over the years, therefore the game is actively dying or is, quote unquote dead. However, one thing that they fail to explain is that Steam is only 1/3 of the total number of players that are actually playing Sea of Thieves. And the number shown here is platform specific. So we only get to see Steam numbers. The other thing to keep in mind is when I say 1/3 of the player base, that is actually inaccurate as well, because Steam is actually a significantly smaller chunk of the total number of players, because the overwhelmingly large number of players come from the Xbox or Microsoft Game Pass. So players that are playing from an Xbox or have the game through their Microsoft Store account makes up for a much larger percentage of the total number of players that are actually playing. So this notion that SteamDB is the single source of truth for Sea of Thieves and whether or not it should be used to gauge player health or player number health is a bad way to get a somewhat reliable source of total number of players. Now, to Steam's credit, they actually do share these numbers through their API, which is how this website works. And unfortunately, Microsoft and Rare do not. So there is no accurate representation for the total number of Sea of Thieves players on either of their two stores. So getting an accurate representation overall is a little bit trickier, as we simply just don't have access to that data. And it's probably a closely guarded secret within Microsoft itself. However, one source of information we do have is the official Sea of Thieves website itself. Now, I will say you do need to have your own Sea of Thieves account to access these numbers. But if you do, or if you're interested in these numbers, chances are you are a Sea of Thieves player, so you do have an account for you to use. So what you need to do is just log into seaofthieves.com, go to your profile, and then select leaderboards. And this will showcase the total number of players that have participated in raising an emissary for this month and have made it into the leaderboard itself. And we can use these numbers to get a bare minimum number of players that are actually playing. Now, one thing to keep in mind is not every player raises an emissary flag themselves. A lot of players like to play without the emissary flag, and some players only like to play exclusively in one or two companies every single time they play. Now, why is this important? Well, this basically means that the numbers I'm about to show you is still not a complete solution or a complete heuristic to gauge the total numbers of players that are participating in the game itself. But this will at least give us a bare minimum number of players, and we can assume that there are actually more players that are actually playing the game actively. So let's scroll down. We'll keep the numbers on gold holders for now, because gold holders are the most popular trading company, or they are the favorite of the main 5 trading companies. And as we scroll down, we get to this table over here, and this is showing the current global number of players that are actively participating in the gold holder faction. So the important number to keep in mind is, as we scroll down, we can see the required number to get into the lowest quartile of gold holders in the first column here, that showcases the individual position for that particular player. So what does this mean? This is the minimum position requirement to get into the top 75% of gold holders for the active month. So you need to be the 166,346th player to be in this top percentage. Now, this is still not an accurate representation for the total number of players that are participating. Again, some people might never raise gold holders. Some people like to play the game without raising any emissary flags. Some people are still new to the game and do not even have the gold holder flag unlocked yet. However, this is a much better way to gauge the total number of players, or the minimum total number of players required to reach or create the emissary ledger for this particular month, or the leaderboard for the ledger itself. Therefore, we can actually assume that there are more players than this 166,000 value specified here. And one of the ways that we can do this is we can factor in the fact that this number is the minimum required position to get in the top 75% of the total number of gold hoarders. That means that there is still another 25% of gold hoarders that isn't shown on this table because they haven't reached this entry level position for the top 75%. So here we need to do a little bit of math just to demonstrate this point. Is the emissary ledger for the total number of gold hoarders kind of looks like this, where the top percentage of players, which is the top 75%, all fall within this part of our graph. And this position over here is whatever that number was, which is 166, and then 346. All right, so at minimum we have this number of players, but we still need to factor in the remaining 25% over here. So to get a slightly more accurate minimum number of players, all we need to do is multiply this by 1.25. And just going to do this on a calculator because I can't do this in my head. 346. So at minimum, there are 207,932 active gold hoarders in Sea of Thieves. Now, I don't know about you, but that seems a lot more plausible than the Steam recorded, what did they say for this month? The Steam recorded value of, the website hasn't been working properly now, of let's say 12,604 reported players active in October. And again, this number is taken directly from the Sea of Thieves website. You just need to log in to get there. Okay, so to me, 207,000 players is hardly what I would call a dead game. And again, this doesn't factor in all the other trading companies, and it also doesn't factor in players who don't participate in the monthly ledger whatsoever. But here we at least have a minimum, a bare minimum number of players that are still playing Sea of Thieves. Right. Hopefully that is insightful. Thanks so much for watching this quote-unquote quick video. That's probably like 14 minutes long. I am going to enjoy Season 10 of Sea of Thieves quite a lot with my friends. And if you are concerned whether or not Sea of Thieves is quote-unquote dead, I will leave you with this number on screen to show you that there is at least a 1/5 of a million players that are actively participating in just playing gold hoarders. So take that number on its nose, have a wonderful day, and I really hope to see you on the seas very, very soon.